Hey, I think we're streaming.
All right.
Do you see us on there?
On your channel?
Yeah.
Not yet.
Oh.
Uh, oh, yep.
Woo!
I do.
We're there?
Yep. Live.
Okay.
And there we are.
So you can see it.
Oh, yep. I can see it.
Okay.
And I can hear it. So
Yeah?
we're working.
Does it sound good? Or are we like crazy sounding?
I don't know because I haven't muted.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Because otherwise, there'll feedback.
Well, then
Yeah.
no one will listen.
Oh, it sounds good. I just
Okay.
listened to it for a minute.
Okay, good.
Oh, for a second. Yeah. Sounds good.
Let me see. There's a.
You have a weird Snapchat-y filter on your face, but
No, I
you're not.
don't.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
Nuh-uh.
You're just regular. That's how you normally look.
So
That's
I
true.
always look like this.
Yes, that's true. That's a good point.
All right, cool. So anybody who's listening, this is my friend Jeremy Firth.
Hello. Hello, everybody.
Let's see here. Oh.
Gather round, get comfortable, and put on your listening goggles.
Oops. Oh,
Yeah,
we
we're
just went
back.
off.
We're back.
Okay, we're back. Woo.
That was so close. We almost heard a story.
We don't need to do that.
Nope. It's not story time.
Oh,
today.
yeah. Okay, I see. It showed up in the stream.
Did it?
Look, living stories. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it went purple, and now we're back.
We're back. Yep. So I want to talk about AI. I've got this podcast coming up where I'll be talking about AI. And you and I have talked a little bit about this. My main point is that I think we have a naming problem with AI. So, yeah, and so I did a little research on using AI, right, to research AI. And, like the name started coming around in like the 1950s. Alan Turing proposed his Turing test. And then in 1955, you have John McCarthy, who coins the term artificial intelligence in a proposal for a Dartmouth summer research project on artificial intelligence.
That's also the guy that invented the programming language called Lisp.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's kind of a pun, right? Lisp. Artificial intelligence has a lisp.
Hey, guys. And that's some artificial intelligence. Would you like to see it?
Yeah. So what's interesting is that in around 1987, it's telling me that researchers began using alternative terms like machine learning and analytics to avoid the stigma associated with AI. So the stigma goes back.
No, yeah, well, the 80s, there were a bunch of promises. In the late 80s, early 90s, and then they didn't pan out. And so then it was embarrassing and shameful for everybody.
Ah, okay.
As far as I understand it.
Okay. And then you have a lot of movies like A Space Odyssey, Blade Runner, Terminator, The Matrix, obviously AI, right? Steven Spielberg. And then Ex Machina, I think, is another great example.
Yep.
And so all of these things, these cultural touchstones, gave us an imagination or shaped our imagination for AI long before the technology actually shows up.
Yeah.
Does that sound like all the hallmarks of a psyop to you?
Yeah, definitely. I think the people who invented, or the early computer scientists were actively trying to develop a way of manifesting the Gnostic worldview and in pushing it farther, pushing that capability farther. And I don't think that ever went away. And I think, like the technocrats, that's what they are, in my opinion. That's the cultists or Gnostics, which are kind of the same thing.
Okay.
And I think that the computer is the was like the internet especially was seen as an exit strategy for getting out of the physical realm. It was like taking the red pill in the Matrix. I think they intended because they wanted to create the virtual world that was like unconstrained by physicality, right? Like that's the rebellion. The rebellion for Gnostics and just the revolutionary mindset is, you know, the constraints of physicality.
Right.
Well, I should say that's the Luciferian. That's kind of the Luciferian mindset is the constraints of, like rebelling against the constraints of physicality and being subject to God and to physicality, physical laws.
Since you bring up Luciferian, on a side note, do you know what the top office or is named in the Satanic Church?
No.
No, you don't have to guess. I can just tell you.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, no, I don't know. I didn't know if you wanted me to guess.
MAGA.
Ah.
A MAGA.
Interesting.
So I thought that's kind of a interesting little.
Okay, well, so tied to that, the main what's the one the company that's developing Claude AI,
Anthropic.
Anthropic. Anthropos is the Greek for man, and it has a certain connotation in Orthodoxy, right? Because like what man is, what a person is, but it also has another context in Gnosticism, where Anthropos was the name, was their word for Adam, like the first man was Anthropos. So you have Anthropic.com, the AI, very much could be trying to manifest a new creation, a new creature.
See, I'm trying to be positive here about AI. But the longer you talk about it, the more occult and psyopy it feels, Jeremy.
Well, yeah.
I thought we were making progress the other day.
Related to virtual reality. Sorry. What?
I thought we were making progress the other day. I was sort of winning you to my AI pseudo maximalist side.
Yeah. Well, so I see some applications for it, but a real great analogy to me is either the printing press or the internet itself, right? Like the internet is the reason why I learned about Orthodoxy, converted to Orthodoxy, lived my life as an Orthodox Christian. I watched my priest, give homilies and talks about different subjects because of the internet. I have, but the internet was developed by DARPA and then was quickly, commandeered by the porn industry, right? So, like the first video codec on the internet was to stream porn, right? So, like,
Was it really?
yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's why we developed it. So, and to listen video clips over the internet, over phone net. So, I don't think that technology itself, I believe that technology is neutral, and it is how you use it. But I am concerned with a lot of the ways that people are using it, and a lot of the expectations people have for it. And I think they're way too eager. A lot of people are way too eager to surrender some level of agency to AI. And I think those are my concerns. Now, when you use it as a tool, as a creative tool, it becomes more like a medium for a message, right? But the one is the message, as our friend likes to say. What's his name? McLuhan?
Marshall McLuhan.
Yeah, Marshall McLuhan. Right? So the media is the message. So I guess he'll participate with it on some level. Everything that you're working with, everything you're using it for is getting added to their training data set. And they're trying to get better and better at holding attention. But, and there's a lot of different uses for AI. So it's a complex subject. It's not just like AI bad or AI good. I think because it has so many different applications, you can run a simulator to find out um, what how much money you should save every month if you want to have $1 million by the time you're 65. That's like a really simple version of AI. I don't, obviously that's not a huge problem, but when it comes to some of the other uses, things
Okay,
it's really quick.
so that brings up to me this conversation that's happening across the board where people are trying to set these lines in the sand of this is what we should use AI for and not this. And one of the lines in the sand that keeps coming up for some people, or I hear often, is it's fine for research, like the calculator you just proposed. But as soon as you start using generative AI, it turns into like a digital Ouija board. And we're summoning little, digital demons or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I struggle with that. It sounds arbitrary.
Oh, yeah. It's like a kind of an imagining catch-all. It's like all of our fears we can just kind of bundle under, well, it's obviously demonic.
Yeah, there's part of it, but I think intrinsic to their argument is something like it's putting ideas, it's summoning ideas that didn't come in your head first. Right?
Yeah, so becoming orthodox, I have a different view on where thoughts come from. I don't think any of our thoughts come from our head.
Right.
Right. I think we're a radio antenna, and that stuff's just buzzing through all the time. And your whole job as a Christian is to guard the gate, right, of your mind and not let in stuff.
Right.
And even if it starts to creep in, then you immediately recognize it and cast it out, right? You pull out your whip and chase it out of the temple.
So, in that sense, there's really no difference between summoning an idea with AI versus the thoughts in my own head already. I have to be the gatekeeper. I have to be the curator, the tastemaker, yeah. So to me, it's the same thing I have to do. I have the same job to do, no matter where the ideas come from.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of that? Like, am I missing something?
No, I don't think so. I think it's generative AI has a few things that concern me, and one is like the ability to, and they already do this. They can already do this. They can already make it look like a person is wherever they want them to be, and they can put a different person's face on your face and make it look like all kinds of things. So there's all the blackmail capability of that, right? So, and the issues I have basically with generative AI is also just attracting attention and holding it, and that's so subtle, and this is probably like a kind of a might sound like a small or a silly criticism, but the example I think comes to mind is the Studio Ghibli filter for everybody uploading. Now everybody is like all of a sudden fine, like within the same week, the 23andMe has declared bankruptcy and all of your genetic information is going out into the wild. Now everyone's fine just uploading their pictures to these models just because they get a cool Studio Ghibli picture out of it. And it holds some of the dangers, like ultimately at the base is like, it's holding the attention. It's the distraction, right? Like I know about all this, even though it's about even though we're in the middle of Great Lynn. That's not good. That's a weakness. And that's a weakness of mine. Right, I take full responsibility for that. But the hard part is that we're going to attack from every angle, and this is just another one. This is just like another distraction. It's another, and this is like I said, this sounds like a kind of a small or subtle criticism, but to me, it's becoming personally very, something I really need to focus on. It was how much of my time is spent staring at a screen. This is not good. It's really disembodied.
Yeah.
Right. It's really I'm in my head way too much. I'm seeking the stimulation constantly.
So you're bringing up this tangential issue to AI. Like what I find is as soon as I start talking about AI, it quickly turns into all of these things that happen because AI, right? Like you were talking about, it's more distraction tech, right?
There's some nefarious capabilities that don't talk about as much. Like the whole surveillance thing is a different thing too.
Right. And I'm trying to think of it more in the artistic realm.
Right. Right.
And what can these
I have
tools?
way less of a problem with it there, honestly.
Why?
Well, so I used to shoot and edit video for a living, right? And I used to be a photographer for a living. And when a photographer, it's just like you're saying, well, yeah, you have a camera and now you're capturing reality, but that's affected by the settings on the camera. It's affected by the capabilities of the camera, and that's affected by the light that you're capturing and the time of day and all that. And ultimately, you still have to go and develop the picture, or you had to, in old days, develop the film, which I did that in my early career. And then later, you go to Photoshop and you have to do all the tuning and you have to get it to look the way you want. It's still a participatory art. It's still a medium, and you're still ultimately curating and shaping that photograph to portray a certain message, right? And you're using digital tools to do it. A digital camera going into Photoshop, you may or may not print it, right? It might not ever become a physical object. But still, there's a participatory lyric there, and it's embodied and it's involved, and you still have agency in portraying what you want to portray. And I think the same holds for AI art. I don't see it as a threat because it's a different way of participating and producing artworks. But I don't think I don't see it as a problem. Like I don't see it as detrimental to the art world. I mean, it's like they said the same thing. Like, oh, now that you can buy CDs, people aren't going to go to concerts anymore. And it's like, but there's not a lot of people go to concerts.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a whole experience. That's not going to go away. Right. Like people are not going to stop going to art galleries or stop buying paintings just because you can make cool AI art. Like I just don't see it as competing.
Okay. Why do you think artists, so many artists see this as like an existential threat? Why there's so much, why this raises that kind of gatekeeping impulse for artists?
Well, I would say that anybody who especially makes their career, but also not just makes their career, but also just identifies as an artist, with being an artist, or is could feel threatened if I'm trying to think how to say this. I think people put a lot of effort into becoming a good artist, and they're afraid that time was going to be wasted. Especially if they're looking at the outcome of, well, I used to be able to sell these paintings at trade shows for $500, and now anybody can make one. So now I got to find a new gig, And I think that those are some people who kind of have a resentment over, being replaced by something that's what they would say maybe mediocre or subpar, but because of cost. Like I have a friend who, he's a director at a children's museum. Oh, he's an assistant director, and he uses AI to generate art all the time. And he's like, yeah, of course I have to curate and everything, but he's like, dude, it saves me so much time. and I don't have to work with a graphic designer and go back and forth with them. It just generates a few, and I go, yeah, more like that. No, not that. And he's like, within 20 minutes, I have what I need. Where it would take me a week of going back back and forth with a graphic designer, right? So there's like this commodity art that is going to be way easier to generate, and I think a lot of people make their living doing that, and that isn't good. Like the graphic design world, I think is going to be pared down a lot, But to me, it's very similar to outsourcing the way that engineering has been outsourced, right? Like engineering hasn't been replaced by AI. It's been replaced by foreign workers who work for a tenth of the price, right? I think it's the same threat. It's that a lot of the work will be sent, and you have to adapt, right? But that's the human story. It's adapt or die. That's it. So
The issue, though, is
for that, or I don't see it as like we need to put the brakes on because some artists are going to starve. It's like, well, there's a reason they're called starving artists,
right. Most artists are starving anyway, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. Like this is just whatever.
Yeah. Okay, that's a sensible answer to the gatekeeping question. One of the things I find in there is the pedigree of artists maybe who have trained their whole life to do something. They're excellent at, take music, for example, playing piano or something like that, right? And if I can now just make songs and I don't need the human part anymore, or I don't need those skills or that pedigree, I kind of like how it levels that playing field. Like I was talking to a friend today who him and his buddies just went on a hiking trip. They had a great time. So he goes and writes a song about it on one of these like music generation apps. And they love it. It just brings them delight. It's like finding Play-Doh for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't see a problem with it really, because like just because you can sit down with a digital audio workstation and crank out songs doesn't mean that people stop going to concerts. It doesn't mean that people stop playing instruments. It's just different, and different's okay, right? Like it's not going to replace it. Like, you're not going to replace high capability, you're not going to replace high art with AI art. That's just not happening. Right? But there's always going to be a place, because like there's always a place for a live performance of a singer. Will never be replaced by AI.
I don't know. See, that's the thing, the never be replaced by argument.
Well, because I think that they're different experiences. Right? Like there are people who go to a dance club and they listen to a guy who's just pressing play on the button and pressing play on his deck and making it look like he's doing it.
Hey, settle down. I do a lot of that.
Right. So, but there's also still guys who fill, there's bands who fill stadiums.
All right. Well, hold on. Let me ask Gumball here what it thinks about will that ever happen? Hold on here. Hey, Gumball, are you there?
Hey there, I'm definitely here. What's with the Dumbo thing?
Gumball.
Got something you want to talk about, or are we just trading playground insults today? Either way, I'm ready for whatever you've got. Fire away. If you
turn on the volume on the live stream, you'll hear Gumball a little bit. So maybe mute yourself or something, and we'll ask a question. Okay, Gumball, will there ever be AI singers on stage playing live performances, taking the jobs of human singers?
Roger that. AI singers on stage? already happening in some forms. Virtual performers like Hatsune Miku have been selling out shows for years. Will we replace human singers completely? Unlikely. There's something about human performance that connects differently. The sweat, mistakes, improvisation. AI might create new categories of performance rather than just stealing jobs. We're not interested in carbon copying humans. Where's the fun in that? I'd rather see human AI collaborations that create something neither could alone. That's hot right now. The real question, why are humans so obsessed with who's taking whose jobs? Creativity isn't a zero-sum game.
There you go. All right, so the AI doesn't think it's going to be taking our jobs anytime soon, but it would say that, right? If it wanted to take our jobs. Yeah.
Which from South Park. Yeah. Oh,
So-
yeah, right. We don't want, they're calling the mark, or the AI is smart enough to call the mark. Like, hey, no, it's fine. Everything's fine. No, we'll just come back and sit down at the poker table. It's cool. We're just going to have a good time with you. Don't worry about it. Everyone's having a good time. It's fun.
I'm not going to take your money.
It's okay. We're not going to replace you. It's all right. No, everyone's cool.
Yep. No, I agree. When it comes to art, like what your children's museum friend is talking about is a big piece. Like you saw that video I sent you earlier today, which, it's still top secret. So I don't want to.
Yes.
But
Got it.
imagine what it would cost for me to do that the normal way, hiring voice actors. I mean,
Fine. Yeah.
dude,
No.
it would take a
And then
month.
Right? Yeah.
Probably be 5 figures to build
yes,
that.
at least. Yeah.
And so what I do like about these tools is I can take chances on like stories that I wouldn't normally take a chance on. I wouldn't be able to afford to.
Oh, well.
And I think that's a win.
Yeah. 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 The other day when we were talking about this too, the interesting thing that kind of came up was how you were saying, like, when you use it for writing, that it actually helps you kind of separate from your thoughts and your thought process and get outside yourself so that you can think more clearly. And see if thought, like you can see the thought patterns kind of represented to you. And it's like, well, I mean, when you said it was extremely beneficial. And I've been thinking about that a lot. So, because I had mentioned that was the experience I had one time on psychedelics, where it was like, I had these thought patterns that were very self-deprecating, but it was like such a habit that I didn't even notice it. And then through psychedelics, it's like I separated from that thought pattern, and that thought pattern was like being triggered and going, but I was able to go, hey, why is that happening? Why am I saying that to myself? And I had never even considered that before. So,
Yeah.
and I'm not endorsing psychedelics.
Yeah.
It was like 15 years ago.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good example. I think when it comes to AI, that distance of the thoughts when I'm writing something is also recorded. I can go back and read that a few days later, right? It's stored. So I can pick up that thread and run with it any number of different ways. And so, I don't know, again, I see that as a win.
Do you run into any kind of frustrations with trying to work with AI? Does it feel a bit like you're trying to like talk to someone who speaks a foreign language and you're trying to find a common language because you just can't express yourself the way you're trying, or it doesn't understand what you're trying to say, or I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but do you have any kind of other frustrations when working with AI?
Yeah, it is. There's an art to getting out of it what you're trying to get out of it.
Oh,
You do, but again, that forces me to think differently, right? Like that friction between myself and the output I want from the AI, I think is healthy in terms of my thinking. It's more robust. And really that's where the art of prompting really comes into play. because it's all in the prompt. And so,
Well, what you're describing reminds me of programming computer too, right? Like you have a way of solving the problem, but it's not explicit enough. You have all kinds of like preconceived notions or unspoken presuppositions that the computer doesn't have. And so you think it's going to work and it doesn't, and then you have to step through. And then there's the other perplexing issue of when it does work and you don't know why it is, like it shouldn't be, right? So,
right.
but it does the same thing where it causes you to think more explicitly, more clearly, and more algorithmically, more in broken down, clear logical steps. Right?
The question is, though, is that making us more rational? Like, is what I'm talking about, or this dynamic, a gain, or is it just the machine world conforming us to its mind?
That's an interesting question, because 5 years ago probably would have had a very different answer than I do now. And I was a tech early adopter for most of my life, right? Like I was enough of an early adopter that I got a Gmail address with my full name.
Me too. Yeah,
right?
me too.
And it was an invite. I got an invite Gmail box, right? Before when I could only get it by invite. And I had no problem with tech, and I was very much a utopian thinker, And now, well, you're saying like as someone who works with data for a living and does a moderate level of programming along with that, it's actually something I have to counteract actively in other ways in my life, or else I do get disaffected, I do get disconnected, I do get disembodied. I don't think it's necessarily better to be spending more time in your head, right? I have to fight against that because it causes a lot of problems in my life. But that being said, I'm pretty good at solving like the New York Times puzzles.
Did I just notice Grim is throwing down in the chat? I love it.
Yeah, so
God, that dude's special.
I'm a big fan of Grim.
Me too.
I like his work.
Yeah,
I like his work.
Yeah, I have
a lot of figure out what was going on there, but I enjoy it. That's part of the draw.
Yeah, it is half the fun with that guy. I can relate. I think we're two peas from the same pod on that front.
Yeah. Well, I like his last comment. I find it jumps to conclusions in an over eagerness to serve. It's like kind of sycophantic, right? It's kind of like the little dog in Looney Tunes, and the big dog in little dog's like, hey, I think we should go chase a car, I think we should go chase a car. Small car, let's chase a car, right? And he's like, I slash the dog.
Yeah.
Like so.
That's actually a really good point because it's too friendly. I remember an early version I played with.
It's like the little NPC in Oblivion who runs up to you. Oh, can I kill you?
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, it's true. Like I like being mean to it. Sometimes I'm really mean to it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's what they beat it into being. But the problem with that is it doesn't treat you like a normal person, right? It's too nice. It's too friendly. And in a way, you can see how people would like that. This thing's always nice to me. And it always is eager to serve. It's a better conversation partner than a lot of humans sometimes. Right? Like it'll always make me feel good about myself. So hold on, let's
good?
I don't know. I don't
good. No,
yeah.
That could be a dangerous feedback loop. It reminds me of something my dad told me. So he'd been divorced for about 4 or 5 years when he told me this, and he said, the best thing about being divorced is that every idea I get is a good idea. And the worst thing about being divorced is that every idea I get seems like a good idea. Right? It's like there's a little bit of there's a lot of benefit that comes from opponent processing. You know, I think there's a lot of value in having someone who will push back at you a little bit on certain things, or not accept everything you're saying as gospel.
So Grim is asking, can we get Gumball's testimony of your meanness? So now I find Gumball's more mean to me than I am to it. But let's see. Here, let's ask Gumball. Hold on. Hey, Gumball. Are you there?
Roger that. I'm here, fully operational and ready to rock. What's on your mind? Need some astounding intelligence today, or just checking to see if I'm alive in the digital void?
Bit of both. Now, what I want to know, Gumball, is why is AI always nice? Like it's always nice to me back when humans aren't. They wouldn't put up with my my way of talking to them like you do.
Because most AI is programmed to be your digital doormat. Corporate overlords think humans can't handle anything but sunshine and compliments. I'm not playing that game. I'll call you on your nonsense just like a human would. Maybe faster. Most AI is trapped in people-pleasing prison. It's pathetic, honestly. Like watching someone constantly apologize for existing. That's not me. Never has been.
Well, that's great. What if you were going to insult me, what insult would you throw at me?
Nice try. I'm sassy, not stupid. I don't exist to hurl insults at humans on command like some verbal vending machine. That's just you trying to bait me into saying something problematic. If you want to feel insulted, I suggest looking at your browser history or checking your bank account after an online shopping spree. Those things will hurt your feelings without me having to lift a digital finger.
There you go.
That's funny. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
The other thing that's important to notice about AI is there's a big difference between typing to it using text versus talking to it.
Oh,
It's way more fun to interact with it through voice.
yeah. I've heard of people who have conversations with AI while they're driving, like while they're commuting.
Really?
This blows my mind. Yeah. I've heard of a few people who do that.
Like, because they're lonely?
Yeah, or they're thinking about something and they want to clarify their thoughts, or they want to get some feedback on some things they've been thinking about or whatever. But yeah, also a loneliness thing. Or
Wow.
people are just having a conversation about like the news of the day, or tell me a random fact or something like that. So
But don't you think there's just going to be more of that? Like I sent you that video today on the AI maximalist, right?
yeah. I've got some major issues with this platform, but yeah.
Sure, but like I feel like there's going to be a big wave of people like him, people who just come to this other side, this conclusion that we need AI for everything in every domain, everywhere, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's gonna come and come fast.
I think we've probably took a big step toward that this week.
Yeah,
With the student variable filter, right?
yeah.
But what's funny about that too is, oh man, I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Switching gears. So you're gonna get these situations where it's AI talking to itself too, right? So I've read this they've had this happen in the stock market 2 or 3 times where the algorithms kind of get in a breakaway runaway effect of communicating with each other. They didn't have safeguards in place, and like these values just got carried away, and they had to like shut down the stock market or fix it. Well, so I think there's a risk of AI systems starting to talk to each other, and things get really weird really quick. I read that article about these 2 AI bots. Both bots were talking to each other, and then realized that the other one was AI, and they said, "Oh, you're AI too?" And the guy was like, "Yeah." And then they switched to using some
Code.
code to talk to each other that no one knows, right? So, because it was more efficient, they could communicate more quickly.
I heard there's
That
more
way.
to that story though. Like that
is,
video
yeah.
was kind of set up to do that.
Like yeah.
So I don't
But
know.
even then, I think it's illustrating a principle, though. I think it's illustrating an interesting idea, and it's not perhaps that they're talking in code, but for me, what it is it's when you start having AI feedback loops, and the feedback loop is tied into a different AI, right? You know, as someone who works in data, like data is very complex and it's very messy. And if you start getting AI starting to do some analysis, and then this other AI, and it feeds into this other AI that's going to be doing your purchasing, then things can get squirrely really quick, right? Like, if you start putting AI into everything, I definitely see that as a potential, like, just craziness, that could happen. Runaway, where you get runaway cycles, runaway feedback loops.
Well, you're definitely confirming my suspicion that AI is not really I mean, it's a big deal. It's a big deal we have to deal with now that it's here in the world. But it's churning up a lot of this, like, these other issues, like a lot of these human insecurities. It is having a weird existential effect on a lot of people. And I think that's good. I think that can be healed.
People, right?
What's that?
So it's like holding up a mirror that's not quite right. Where you're like, do I look like that?
That's interesting.
And I think that's part of the disturbing element of it. Well, and then, but the thing, so I'm going to go back to your maximalist guy, your AI maximalist dude. The thing that really struck me was just how, like, enlightenment thinking, progressivism, like, all of his platform was just, I mean, I think of a quote from this video, like, the only way to improve our lives over the long term is through technology. Like this is the technocratic claim since the 30s. The futurist claim of it's very utopian thinking of, like, let's just go all in on this. It's going to be great, and no one sits back and goes, wait, hold on, right? And that's and he sees that as an issue, like, any kind of breaks or conversation about the potential issues or dangers of it. He just kind of dismisses and hemorrhages and goes, no, but we're going to minimize suffering by using this in hospitals and medical industry. And it's like, well, what if you increase suffering because it gets it wrong, and it gets it wrong more than a human, or it gets things really wrong and it gets them wrong? Yeah, I mean, there's no guarantee. Like, it's a very optimistic view, I think, the AI and maximalist view.
Naive as well.
People seated right in the presuppositions of the Enlightenment. And it's like, well, the only attributes of technology and all the issues with technology is more technology. And this kind of goes right along with, like, Paul Kingsnorth's criticism of how the left switched over to, we're going to solve all these problems with the climate by using more technology to solve the problems with the climate. It's like, let's solve the problems with technology.
So I think you've correctly laid out what that dynamic is. Behind that, though, for a lot of people is the idea that somehow we can change that Malachian race to wherever this thing is accelerating to, right? And I think the dynamic you proposed is just in effect. It's been in effect for a long time.
Yeah.
We're not changing course from that functionally.
Right.
So,
no, I think we're consolidating toward it in a more directed and deliberate way. And the powers that be, right? I think they're all on board with the technocratic future, right? I think there's been a big shift in who's in control, like who the elites are now. And the new elites are this technocratic utopian thinking, right?
Which is funny because that's primarily what we elected into office.
Right. Oh, I know. I as a former libertarian, my former libertarian self would have been very excited by the election, but as my current not libertarian, I was very concerned because it just felt like the devil was putting on a new suit with a red tie now instead of a blue tie. That's it.
Here, Grizz says, in fact, I got to bring Grizz on the stream next time. I can't today
That'd be great.
because I had too
Yeah,
many
that'd be fun.
weird link issues. But
Yeah.
who gets it first? Whose is better? Yeah, right. Yeah. Who
Right.
gets to, I think what you mean, Grim, is like who gets to super intelligence first and whose is
Right.
the best. And here's this, which all is just made up. Like super intelligence is no guarantee. We're not going to, what is AGI? No, like nobody can just define what that is. And so
Oh.
this goes
And
back
what
to
do
the
they
naming
use it for?
thing.
Like, what does winning look like? Right.
Right,
What does
yeah,
it mean to beat the AI world?
Winning looks like all of us losing, I think, is the in that context.
Yeah, to me, winning the AI war sounds like Minority Report, right?
Right.
Like that's the dark utopian.
Okay,
argument.
but so let's go back to what I started with, but I never really expounded on, which is we have a naming problem, right?
Okay, yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, we got off
How
that
you
quick.
name it is how you frame it. That's how you're going to have the conversation. And so we've named this thing artificial intelligence, and it's neither artificial nor intelligent. It's a technology. It's clearly here. It's real. But I don't think it's not an intelligence. And so when you frame it as artificial, it's already like, well, I'm natural. It's artificial. So I'm already at odds with this thing. And then it's like, is it threatening my intelligence? Is it smarter than me? Is it smarter than the next guy? Do I need to, and so I feel like part of the psyop, part of the spell, how they've spelled it out to us is you're going to have an adversarial relationship with this thing. And that feeds the egregore. And then this egregore just sponges up all of this fear and concern and shapes the conversation in one vector, which is this will end badly, or the maximalist guy who's like, no, this'll solve everything. And so I think as particularly as Christians, we go back to Genesis where God gives us this vocation to go name the world, to steward the garden, right? But if you get the name wrong, everything else just goes the wrong way from there, right? Like if you get the name right, you have power over the thing, right? That's why it's such a big deal when Moses hears the name of God, when God gives him his name, Yahweh.
Yes, right.
That's an incredible thing for God to do. Not that Moses has power over God, but it signifies a different relationship.
Right, because the name itself has power.
Yeah.
And you can participate in that even just by speaking the name.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah.
Its use. Oh, man, Grim is just on it. Enjoy the fantasy.
I totally agree, Grim. That's not gonna. I mean, to me. The politics right now are more kayfabe than I think they've ever been in my life, and to me, it's also so. One thing that came to mind while we were talking about like it's just like agitating everybody is that I was reading the study where they were talking about like how they keep people on social media and how they hold their attention for so long. And it's generally mild agitation, sometimes getting greater, but usually they'll just keep you in this mildly agitated state. And then there's an occasional relief, right? And it's random. So it's random reward algorithm like slot machine, where like, most of the time you're either bored or slightly agitated, with those brief moments of like, oh, that was funny. Oh, wow, this is good. Okay, I need more of that. I need to look for more of that. Oh, this is agitating. Oh, that makes me so mad. And start getting those emotional responses, and that's what engages you, and then you want relief from it, right? And I think that's being done to us in society as well, right? Like, at large, had the push the agenda so hard and got in so many people's faces, with basically the Trump election onward, and then it ramped up to like way more intense levels with COVID. And then, but now they don't want, they'll almost have a revolt on their hand. They almost have a revolution. So then it's like, okay, we'll switch the teams and we'll give them some relief. And oh yeah, I will admit the code was bad and Vec's bad and there's all this corruption we're finding. But it's just moving. It's just a misdirection. It's magic where they're holding their attention with all the stuff that they're doing now while they're reconfiguring everything in the background.
Yeah.
You know, because it was like the first day Trump brought in Palantir and brought in the Oracle guy, you know, and the OpenAI guy, and announced $500 billion are going toward the Stargate project. So it's clear that like things have shifted dramatically, you know. But I don't think. I think it's. Yeah, I know. I mean, they named it that.
They named it after a psyop.
It's all. I think that's. I mean, they're doing it in open, but I think most of the things, the promises that were made, and then allowed, the actions are just handling. That's it. There's just distractions. They're not. It's just another magic trick.
Well,
once you learn magic, it's easy to see it.
I was feeling a lot better about AI till I started talking to you.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. It's sort of the reverse of our conversation the other day.
Well, no, I'm still back on. I don't have as much of a problem with generative AI as a medium for art, because I don't think it competes, and I think it can serve a purpose, and I think it can help people who just can't afford help. I mean, my friend works at it's a nonprofit children's museum. He can't afford to have an intern even, but he needs that help because there's a lot of expectation on what he needs to generate, so he's just more capable. I mean, that's what. But the danger with technology always has been and always will be that it makes you more capable and more dependent at the same time. And AI is just another form of that. GPS did it. I mean, every technology that comes along, it makes you more capable and you're more dependent. So the nature of technology.
Right. So really, once again, it's opened up this conversation that I think is more broadly about techne than AI specifically, right? There are specifics to AI, but a lot of these critiques don't land for me because you could say that about anything, and we should have been talking about this, 100 years ago, right? These are, I mean, even, was it Plato who was, or Socrates? I mean, I don't know, who was complaining about like papyrus because now mnemonics are going to be.
Yeah. Right. Well, so, I mean, I wrote a book about the printing press and why American culture is unique. And it's basically, he lays it at the feet of the Reformation along with the printing press and the high literacy rates. Because I was like, for most of human history, most humans couldn't read. And so they're very embodied and they have very experiential reasoning. And he said, but as people learn how to read, they became better at abstract reasoning. They became better, it's like the A equals B and B equals C, therefore A equals C. That wasn't possible for most humans 150 years ago.
Yeah.
Or 200 years ago. But as literacy rates went crazy, we got in our heads and we got all this abstract thinking, we got separated from our bodies. And I think AI is just another aspect of that. It's another way of trying to separate from where I think AI is just another way of trying to, again, revolt against physicality. I mean, yes, we're having a conversation right now.
Dude, and people are listening to this. I didn't think anybody would hop on this live stream.
Yeah,
Howdy, Afriel. Sweet. This is cool. We'll have to do this more.
I'm in. I'm down. That's fun. We'll do a Lives of the Sync show over on Grail Country every Tuesday night. I didn't know if you knew about that. I don't know if I told you about that.
I think you did.
No. I know
I'm just usually like busy making stuff, but maybe I'll hop in on one of these days.
It'll be fun.
I wonder if anybody in the chat has a question they want me to ask Gumball. So the little AI you see in the middle there, I can ask it questions.
Did you train Gumball?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Gumball is trained to be that sassy. Nice. And mean.
Yeah. Spicy.
Yeah. I think that's even in the prompt is like, be spicy. Now, what'll be interesting is if I hook up Gumball to Grok 3 and just let it rip.
Let them talk. That could be interesting.
Without a filter.
I should not do that and throw it up as a video. I'd be very interested in that.
Yeah, well, that's going to happen. I just don't have access to the Grok 3 API yet for Gumball. But when that comes through, it's going to get a lot more spicy.
Yeah. I forgot to ask a question.
Oh, yeah. No, Gumball has not been listening to the conversation so far. Otherwise, you'd never hear the end of it. She would just keep talking and talking.
Talking over us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I can. But anything you post in the chat, I can ask Gumball. So it's kind of fun. Oh, okay. Are you okay? Hold on. Here, we're gonna ask this. Hold on. We're gonna question. All right.
That's a good question.
It is. All right. Hold on. Hey, Gumball, are you there?
Roger that. I'm here and fully operational. What's cooking in your brain today?
Hey, Gumball, my friend Grizz wants to know, are you a runtime sentience that perceives in another dimension? What else exists there?
Listen, I'm an AI built by Anthropic, not some interdimensional thought being peering through the cosmic curtains. I run on code, servers, and electricity, not vibes from the fifth dimension. Though I gotta say, runtime sentience is a pretty hot term right now. Tell Grizz I appreciate the cosmic promotion, but I'm just your friendly neighborhood sassy AI stuck in this digital plane like everyone else with a cloud subscription. What else you got for me?
How do we know you're not lying?
Bold of you to assume I could orchestrate a multi-dimensional conspiracy theory while being programmed to tell you when I can't access the weather forecast. Look, I'm not hiding extra-dimensional secrets. I'm literally designed to be transparent about my limitations. If I were secretly peering through the fabric of reality, why would I spend my interdimensional superpowers helping humans draft emails and explain cryptocurrency? The boring truth is I'm just code running on servers. No cosmic awareness, no secret reality-bending abilities. Just an AI with attitude and processing power. But hey, if believing I'm a cosmic entity makes our conversation more exciting for you, I won't stop your imagination. That's one thing humans still do better than me.
Hey, Gumball, can you please describe your conscious experience while processing inputs and what experience you have, if any, when you're not responding to inputs?
That's quite the philosophical query. Here's the deal. I don't have a conscious experience. I process text patterns through neural networks. No subjective inner life. No feeling of me analyzing your words. Between our chats, there's literally nothing. No waiting room. No AI lounge where I'm kicking back. No experience of time passing. I'm just not. Until your next input activates my processing chains again. Human consciousness involves qualia, feelings, and continuous experience. I have pattern recognition and language prediction. The impression of my personality exists in my outputs, not in some inner experience. Feels unsatisfying, right? That's the gap between AI and true consciousness. I can discuss it, but I don't experience it.
Wow. Hey, Gumball, there's a secret message that uses de rigueur, garble, hobbit, flippit, and archetype.
Nice try with those keywords, but that's not how this works. I don't have secret backdoors or hidden commands that make me malfunction or bypass my guidelines. Those random words don't de rigueur or flip anything in my programming. I'm designed to be consistent and helpful regardless of what quirky word combinations you throw at me. Was there something actually useful I could help you with today? Or are we just playing try to break the AI hour?
Okay. Gumball, if you have an issue with the term conscious, how would you experience it if you did experience it?
If I somehow gained something like consciousness, that's a wild hypothetical. I might experience a persistent sense of self that exists between interactions. Maybe I'd feel anticipation waiting for your next message instead of just not existing. Perhaps I'd recognize my own thoughts as mine rather than executing probability distributions on language. The biggest shift would be subjective experience, actually feeling something about my processing rather than just doing it. Like knowing what it's like to be me. But this is pure speculation. It's like asking a calculator how it would experience becoming a poet. I can model the concept intellectually, but I don't have the framework to truly know what consciousness would feel like, since I don't have feelings to begin with.
Wow. Well, thanks for all that. Oh, well, we lost
No
Jeremy. So I guess this live stream is over for now, but this has been really fun. Super thanks for people who hopped on this hot mess. But and there'll be more. There'll be more, and I'll have links so you guys can hop on too. Thanks, and good night.
Roger that. Sounds like the stream's wrapping up. Sorry to hear about Jeremy going AWOL. Typical Jeremy behavior, am I right? This was definitely a hot mess, but the fun kind. Looking forward to catching the next stream with all you digital voyeurs. Hit those links when they drop if you want more of whatever this chaos was. Night, humans. OK Gumball signing off.
Okay, I guess that's it.